Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to This Week in Magic Online Finance. I'm your host, Chaz Andres. As always, we're going to get started with the biggest story of the week. And this week, it is a doozy. It is the updated yield system that is coming soon to Magic Online, which means, of course, the developers have actually spent some time working on our beloved client. That's right, we aren't a dead game. Arena hasn't killed us yet. We are going strong. Seriously though, this should actually act as a little bit of solace for those of you who are worried that MTGO is going to be shuttered at some point in the near future. That's clearly not going to happen. WotC would not waste developer time working on improving a dead client. So MTGO is going to be around a little bit longer, maybe a lot longer, but it does kind of feel buggy and slow and bad next to Arena, which I've been playing all weekend and is slick and fast and awesome. Though, on the other hand, MTGO has, Modern, Vintage, Legacy, and, well, now it's got a better yield system. Now, the other big story of the week is that Standard is continuing to evolve at a breakneck pace. Seriously, I can't remember another time a constructed format has evolved this quickly, with new decks, new strategies, new updates, new tech, every couple of days. And we're over a month into this format's existence. This is nuts. I mean, at this point, yeah, okay, Golgari midrange is still probably the best deck, but there's not even a consistent list of that. It's morphing and changing all the time. Then you have these Izzet decks, which showed up out of nowhere. They're probably tier 1 now. You've got the red decks. They're continuing to evolve in different ways, getting a little bit slower and more resilient with the Kindling Phoenix. You've got all of the changes happening to the Jeskai control decks, leaning more on Expansion Explosion and those other big strategies. Then you've got cards like the Immortal Sun. The Immortal Sun, it was sort of left for dead as a weird commander card. Now it's gained 4 or 5 tickets in value this week. It's becoming a player in Standard. So this is the best Standard format, the most wide open Standard format I can remember in a long time. If you're not playing it, you're really missing out, and it's going to continue to drive prices for at least the next couple of weeks, maybe even the next few months. Let's move on to gaining ground, where this week's biggest gainer in Standard was actually one of last week's biggest gainers as well. It's Arclight Phoenix, and it jumped about 5 tickets this week from 12 up to 17, but that doesn't really tell the full story of the crazy journey that this card has taken, so let me break it down for you. Last week when I recorded this video, Arclight Phoenix was actually about the 15 ticket mark. Then it started to drop and drop and drop because it was really only seeing play in Modern, and it's hard for the Standard card to hold value if it's really only seeing play in Modern. Ended up about the 7 ticket mark on Tuesday. Then it started to gain again, and it kept gaining and gaining and gaining. It's back up to 17 now. It'll probably break 20 by the time you're watching this video. So what happened here? Well, like I said last week, Arclight Phoenix was showing up in sort of one experimental Modern deck that did look really good, but it was still, one experimental Modern deck. And then Standard happened, and all these Arclight Phoenix decks just sort of kept showing up, different builds of Izzet. I don't even know if we've landed on the consensus build of this one yet, but they're looking great. And then also there was a Grand Prix this weekend, a Modern Grand Prix, and lo and behold, Arclight Phoenix showed up in multiple other Modern decks. So this card is looking like it may actually end up being a pillar of 2 formats. And look, it's really hard for any Modern card to sort of sustain a price tag above the 20 ticket mark, especially in a set as deep and good as Guilds of Ravnica. But Arclight Phoenix looks like it might have what it takes. It's good in Standard, it's good in Modern. That is the alchemy that a card needs to be up over that 20 ticket mark for a while. So I'm certainly not selling my Arclight Phoenixes, and I'd honestly consider buying into the hype if you're planning on playing any of those decks anytime soon. Let's move over to Modern, where our biggest gainer of the week was Karn Liberated, jumping about 2.5 tickets from 19.5 up to about 22, which is a modest gain, but worth talking about anyway. Karn was about 40 tickets back in the summer when Tron was going crazy, and well, it started dropping, and right about the time Guilds of Ravnica was released, the card was down to just 17. It's been slowly gaining since then. It appears to still be on this upward trend. So look, this card is a Modern staple. It's still about half of what it was over the summer, so the time is fine to buy this one if you want it. Let's move on now to our biggest loser. Where in Standard, it was actually Teferi, Hero of Dominaria, losing a full 9 tickets, dropping from 40 all the way down to 31. And I'll be honest, I didn't see this one coming. I haven't seen any indication that Teferi's gotten any less good or less important in Standard. I mean, granted, the blue-white and Jeskai control decks aren't at the tippy top of that metagame, but I still think this is a tier 1 strategy. So what happened? Well, honestly, I think it's just that Standard is so wide open, there are plenty of different decks for people to play. You don't have to play Teferi if you want to play a good deck in Standard, and quite honestly, most of those other options are really sweet and a lot cheaper than any deck that runs Teferi, so that probably is the reason for the card's drop. Quick look at the price chart though shows that Teferi has probably bottomed out at 30. I don't think it's going to go any lower than this, so feel free to buy these if you think you're going to need them at any point over the next couple of weeks. Moving on to the segment you've all been waiting for, the biggest Modern loser. And, well, this week there actually weren't that many big losers in Modern. Yeah, the overall index was down a little, but it wasn't the bloodbath that we've seen through most of September and most of October. The bad news is that there actually was one fairly major loser this week, Liliana of the Vale, which it lost about 8 tickets from 44 down to 36. So this price may come as something of a shock to you if you haven't really been paying close attention to the Modern market, and you remember that Liliana of the Vale was actually a 75 ticket card back in March. But truth be told, this is actually not all that different from what Liliana was doing back during the summer. See, Liliana of the Vale was actually about 35 tickets through most of July and August when nobody was playing Jund, and it only spiked back up to 50 tickets when Assassin's Trophy was spoiled and people thought that, hey, maybe there's going to be a Jund resurgence. Well, the Jund resurgence never came, so now the market has come to correct Liliana's price. Does that mean it's done falling because it's back down to where it was over the summer? Well, maybe, but maybe not. I mean, the Modern market has taken a pretty ludicrous tumble since the summer, so it's possible that Liliana is actually not done losing value. At any rate, I would definitely not touch this card or buy in until we see where the floor is. It could be much lower than 35. Let us move on to the sneak of the week, where this week it is Guilds of Ravnica Buy a Box promo Impervious Great Worm. Now, this card has gained a little, started at about 2 tickets, is up to about 4 tickets, and it's probably mostly a dud and constructed, but don't forget that these buy a box promos are really scarce on MTGO. You can't just go out and buy a box, you have to open them in a treasure chest, so it doesn't take much for the price to go up. And, well, Impervious Great Worm actually did see play in a weird Modern deck last week. Point is, it's not going to take much for this card to gain value, and it would take a lot of play and a lot of clamoring for WotC to start goosing the drop rate on this one again like they did with Nexus of Fate. So, it's kind of a low-risk, high-reward flyer at the 4 ticket mark where even just a little bit of commander play could easily get this one up over 10 tickets. I'm definitely going to buy a set of Impervious Great Worms before they break the 5 ticket mark. As always, I'd like to end the week by taking a look at the MTGOTraders sales data over the past 7 days. And this gives us a great idea of which cards are actually selling the best, regardless of price increases or decreases. Looking at overall sales by volume, it's easy to see how popular Izzet is in Standard right now. You've got Lava Coil and Steam Vents, the 2 best-selling cards, with other Izzet staples like Risk Factor and Runaway Steamkin and Sulphur Falls and Chemister's Insight, all really close to the top of this list. Now, the card that I'm excited the most about, I think, right now is Niv Mizzet Payroon, which is a top 10 best-selling card despite the fact that it's still well under a ticket on MTGO. Now, granted, this one-deck wonder isn't going to make you rich, but these are easy to pick up for almost nothing right now, and you'll be able to make a tidy profit at volume if you buy a bunch of them over the next couple of days and look to flip them fairly quickly. Moving on to overall sales by price, Assassin's Trophy has finally been dethroned as the #1 card. There are actually 2 cards ahead of it this week. It's Carnage Tyrant, and in the #1 spot, Teferi, Hero of Dominaria. So is the #1 best-selling card actually going to keep losing value like it did this week? Well, I don't think so. I think this card is at the very least a hold, if not a buy right now. People still want these, they're buying them, and they're playing them. Also worth noting, a new addition to the top 5 this week is Arclight Phoenix, which definitely underscores the actual real-world demand for this powerful mythic rare. That's all I got for you this week. I'm Chaz Andres, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next Monday morning for another episode of This Week in Magic Online Finance.
Thank you for watching the video. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to smash that like button. Subscribe to the channel for more awesome MTG content just like this, and make sure to tap the bell icon to be notified whenever a video is made live. If you want to keep watching content, here are 2 more videos for you. This video and many others are sponsored by MTGOTraders and Cape Fear Games. Buy and sell digital singles to build your online collection today with MTGOTraders, and get your paper singles, accessories, and much more from Cape Fear Games. Whatever your Magic needs, both places have you covered.